Coming straight from the underground.
SD, I represent.
Coming straight from the
West Side.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Pleb Underground. I'm your host, Phil. Mike, did I do it? I think I got it. I think it was 3 seconds late. I think I did that. Yeah. I think I got that. All right. So everyone is watching Bitcoin and stocks. And before you get upset and be like, no, you're talking about TradFi stuff. It's becoming TradFi. No, hear me out. This is all about the business cycle. We're using the business cycle hopium to keep the dream alive. Okay. So that's why. Yeah. We're going to talk about some business cycle hopium and we got a whole bunch of stuff. People don't understand how hard this setup can rip. And we are going to show you just how hard this setup can rip. What else do we got? Bitcoin has never gone below the Hull moving average once it breaks out. All of a sudden, everybody's using the names of the people that created these indicators. Like for like 5 years, everybody was hiding them. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, hey, we want to give credit to these people. Why not? A new bullish crossover has just occurred. So I've been seeing this from multiple hopium accounts. So this seems to be the going narrative that's making people happy. We're going to take a look at some of that stuff. What else do we got? The current ordering of the moving averages is very bullish. That's right. We've got some hopium from, it's going to be Ansel Lidner, I believe. Everyone, that's right, guys. Everyone's watching stocks and Bitcoin, but the real tell is the 10-year, the interest on the 10-year note, right? Why is that? Business cycle expands, Bitcoin runs. Are you surprised that Tether purchased 70% of XXI? Meh, not really, but we're going to talk about that news. That's right. We got a lot of Bitcoin treasury slop today. NAKA, I hate to say I told you so, but I'm going to do it anyways because why not, right? They announced a 1 for 40 reverse share split. 1 for 40. It's at 15 cents right now. Right? 15 cents. So after this is done, right, if they maintain this price level, you're going to be looking at a $6 share. And now if you think that thing can't go back down another 99%, you got another thing coming. Anyways, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. They're doing this to maintain their exchange membership, the NASDAQ exchange, right? They have to keep their share price above $1. And obviously they weren't able to do that because, unpopular opinion, these businesses have no actual business. I know, unpopular opinion. All the hopium dealers are selling you this other slop. Prime Trust is suing Strike. What a turn of events, right? So we and it does. So it's interesting, right? Because it's not like you'd think that I would talk about it with the Tether story, but the reality is that these are two different stories, right? This piece of Prime Trust suing Strike has to do with yesterday's story of Prime Trust suing Swan. But don't worry, we've got some hopium. BitCoffee is out there in Italy accepting Bitcoin for coffee. Here we go, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's frickin' do it. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. All right. First, say good morning to the folks. Good morning, Mr. Dinkles. Good morning, Only Bitcoin. And yes, smash the like button. I don't say that enough. Very bad at this. Don't know why. Good morning, Mike Sykes. I think I did make it, though. I think I fulfilled your requirement of the 3 seconds. Good morning, Plastic. Good morning, Hard Hoddle. Good morning, Johnny. Hey, good morning, Phil. Phil C. Not gonna make it. That's great. Finally, we're so close to pizza day. I'm a huge fan of pizza, even though we're not supposed to eat pizza because, of course, the Bitcoin narratives all have to do with cast iron pans and red meat. But truth be told, I am a big fan of the pizza. Always have been. Always have been. And oof, Phil, you're gonna need some fiat. Time to sell some silver. I know how that feels. Totally know how that feels, guys. This is the nature of the beast, swapping out of not so hard assets into much harder assets. It's really interesting how everything became Bitcoin. And for those of us who did that. Anyways, all right, guys, let's dive into it. Here we go. Current Bitcoin fiat exchange 77,180. Look at us. Are we dead at 77K? I don't think so. Last night we hit 78K. That was nice. But don't worry. Every 10 minutes, or average of 10 minutes, I shouldn't say every 10 minutes, but an average of 10 minutes, we get some solid hopium of the new all-time high on the block height, 950,387. We're looking at 5 sats per VByte. It was just 4. It's just 4. Now it's 5. Look at that. It's picking up. Maybe somebody's minting some crap. Who knows? Total public lightning capacity, 5,706 BTC. Standstill from yesterday. Cups of coffee, guys, 17,146, and still getting 19%. Excuse me, 19% of a house for your Bitcoin. Good times. All right, let's dive into it. We've got a lot of hopium. Love to kick it off with Super Bitcoin Bro. I don't think people understand how hard the setup can rip through the 200-day moving average if support holds. The reason why his candle looks different is because he's not using the Heiken-Ashis, okay? So that's why when I saw this yesterday, I was looking at it, and I had to go check, and I said to myself, wait a second. Well, the body on that candle was way bigger. So what the hell just happened? It's okay. But look, essentially, we are 100% at a crossroads, okay? Anybody that thinks that we are not, or whatever it is, unfortunately, there are too many signals in the market indicating that we can go either way. Full stop, okay? I'm bullish, obviously. I think we're going to do a move higher. At the very least, we're going to scare some bears. But I'm also mentally prepared for the other side of this, which is us revisiting the low 70s and me feeling like a piece of crap for no apparent reason. All right, so let's continue, guys. Let's continue, because more Super Bitcoin Bro hopium. In addition to all the other bottom signals that we've been sharing, Bitcoin has never gone below the Hull moving average once it breaks out above it. The Hull moving average, 78, is currently 72K. Yeah, exactly. Right? Treat it as a buying opportunity. And Andy, that is exactly the point. We can totally cross below you, and that's why, right? This is why it's the mental framing that matters, right? We don't actually lose against somebody else. We lose against ourselves and what we think. I was talking about this a couple of days ago, right? When you see, like in particular, you're holding Bitcoin, and let's say you see the price drop and it's dropping below some psychological level that for whatever reason is very important to you. All of a sudden, right? You want to make the pain stop, right? And how do you make the pain stop? You sell the asset. That's wrong. You could just not look. Just don't look. Don't look at the price. There you go. The pain stops. Right? Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to go to it. I know. I never saw this either. All of a sudden, everybody's using the original names. All of a sudden, everyone decides, hey, we want to give credit to these people. Anyway, so look, here's the, before I dive into that, here's the chart comparison between 2014, 2018, 2022, and 2026. And you can see, guys, there's only one case where we did not retest. 2018. Okay? Are we doing 2018? Or are we doing 2014, 2022? And obviously we're in 2026. So we're not sure if the retest is going to happen. Yeah, I can confirm, Mike, selling Bitcoin is the ultimate pain, especially if you don't want to. And in fairness, the only reason why you would end up in a situation where you must sell your Bitcoin if you don't want to is because you didn't stay solvent. That's all. It really is that simple. There's no other mental gymnastics, and it's that simple. Because if you didn't have to sell it, you wouldn't. At least that's the way I see it. But of course, I'm a Bitcoin bull, so obviously I'm not gonna sit there and say something else. All right. So the Hull moving average. What the hell is this thing? I always thought it was just a moving average. Apparently now it's Hull. So it's a fast, smooth technical indicator developed by Alan Hull in 2005. Designed to eliminate the lag common in traditional averages while remaining exceptionally smooth. It uses weighted moving averages to prioritize recent price action. So look, if you want the smooth, bold taste of the Hull moving average, I suggest you start using it. Isn't that, I don't know, I just find that weird wording. I feel like they're selling me coffee or something, right? Coffee or a cigarette, something like that. It is. It's right. It's exceptionally smooth. I can't disagree with these things. I know, right? It's a total sales pitch. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I'm getting over a cold, which just keeps coming back. It's like this thing is like luggage. I thought I was winning last week, and then all of a sudden yesterday I started losing again. So yeah, just if you're interested for some smooth, bold taste, consider the Hull moving average in your next trip to the liquor store. I'm just kidding. We're not selling liquor. Hey, good morning, Free RS Guides. Good morning. Okay, this, I don't think I've ever showed this guy's hopium before. AO, I'm guessing it's Alpha and Omega, BTC analyst. I don't know. I always take AO as Alpha and Omega. Every time, see that's brainwashing right there. That's what's happened, right? I was brainwashed by those two letters in that way, and that's what I see. That's what it is. Every time this bullish crossover happened, a bull run followed. That's right, guys. A new bullish crossover has just occurred. One of the many accounts that are touting the same story, okay? And we've been looking at similar charts like this for like a month, right? At least. And there it is, right? You can see the little crossover happening down here. And then, hey, the projection, what is that? 280K, 240? Hold on. Okay, 280K, guys. That's what we're seeing from a lot of the hopium dealers. 280K, 300K, all these wonderful numbers. You know something? Let's just get back. Why don't we just take some baby steps, right? Let's build support above 100K and start to make some people panic. I want to enjoy those baby steps, okay? Because this is just hopium slop. I know, it's totally bullish, but it's still slop. We're so far away from this. So far. But I'm optimistic, obviously. It's tough trying to temper your own expectations, but at the same time, I know that I'm a boltard, so it's tough. Anyways, all right, so here we go. Ansel Lindner hopium, let's do it. The current ordering of the moving averages is bullish, and I am going to agree with this. The 200-day, over the 20-day, over the 50-day with tight spread, and I've talked about this in the past. Again, it all depends on how much importance you place on these indicators. For me, I have certain indicators that I do place importance on. I don't trade. I just use them for confirmation or denial, plain and simple. And for me, it's these, right? The 200-day moving average, the 20-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, specifically the Bollinger Bands, right? These giant bands that essentially they form on a chart and show you where the price activity is consolidating or not consolidating. And right now we are seeing major consolidation, not just in the moving averages, but we're seeing it in the Bollinger Bands, which of course is also making me bullish. So I can't help it. Can't help it. Yeah, it's don't worry, Phil. This is why I feel like I'm in good company. So when I tell you guys this, I'm not feeling shame. I'm definitely not feeling shame. And also, I trust my quant. That's right. I mean, he hasn't been here in a couple of days, but I think he's just, he's fiat mining or something. But still, yeah, he's totally my quant. He called the 60K bottom, and yeah, it's good times. It is good times. Yeah, both hard is high IQ behavior in Bitcoin. I don't know. My wife tells me I have a high IQ, but I just think she's being nice. Just being nice to, make friends. That's all. Hey, good morning, J-Dub. Good morning. I know. I'm self-deprecating. People don't like that. That's okay. That's right. You've got Phil squared here. We're pumping higher. Who knows? Okay, let's continue. Let's take a look at this Ansel Lindner chart, right? Let's see why he's so excited. And you could see why, right? Because he circled all the other areas that had the same pattern, the same consolidation. And you can see what came next. Okay. I am sold, sir. I am sold on this narrative. I will wait. All right, here we go. Jordan Lindsay. Never tweeted any, I never posted anything from this account either. Everyone is watching stocks and Bitcoin. The real tell is the 10-year yields at 4.6, pressing into descending resistance. Listen to this story, right? While everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but while a lot of people that I'm seeing on my timeline are talking about how treasuries are going to go through the roof in Japan, Japan's never done this, and this time it's different, and it's going to be crazy chaos, blah, blah, blah. This is an interesting take. The setup looks like a liquidity grab, a brief push above to trap traders offside before reversing lower. If that plays out, it's bullish for risk assets across the board. Bonds, stocks, crypto. Really, I just care about Bitcoin. All hinge on this chart right now. And again, guys, this is why there's such a big deal being made about the month of May. But have no fear. If this doesn't play out and we do start to move lower, it just simply means that we're looking for our next level of support. That's all. Doesn't mean it's over forever. Just means we're taking a little break. And there you go, guys. This line, guys, this line, we break it. It's not good, but it doesn't look like we're going to break it. It looks like it may hold. And if it does, we're off to the races. We'll see. All right, more hopium here. Who is this? Psychedelic. The pieces continue to fall as predicted. The contraction to expansion process is following its usual pattern to a complete T. I remember when gold was pushing 5,000 and everyone was screaming to rotate into it and that it's going to pump for 10 years. That didn't happen. If it wasn't clear back then that it had topped, then it should be now. And since then, the rotation to Bitcoin has begun. Here's our signal. Just how it has in every other cycle. And all of this has happened as the business cycle enters into expansion. That's right. Is it at all possible that those of us who prescribed to the 4-year cycle just completely misunderstood and did not pay attention to the underlying business cycle? I'm guilty of that. I didn't even think of that. Why would I? I don't know. Don't know what you don't know. But now I do. So now I'm paying attention. Anyways, and all of this has happened as the business cycle enters into expansion. Do you honestly think this is just a coincidence? No, sir. Feed me the hopium. Gold runs harder within business cycle contraction because it is a risk-off asset. No lies detected. When the business cycle is in contraction, so too is the economy. Then, when the economy enters expansion, gold tops and Bitcoin takes over. It's really quite simple. Business cycle contracts, gold runs. Business cycle expands, Bitcoin runs. And each time gold has topped, just as the business cycle enters expansion, literally within a week. Oh, so here, hold on a second. So he's calling a liquidity grab in the bond market, correct? Which is what the bond market always is. Exactly. So he's essentially what he's claiming is that the market looks like it wants to rip higher out of the wedge, but he thinks it's a trap, right? It's a trap to get people to buy those bonds at those levels before it sinks down. I don't disagree. I've seen this happen before. I know, right? Is there something wrong with us? Because I for certain things like this, right, where it seems simple, I'm like, yeah, that does make sense. And then I think to myself, how am I being scammed? Right? If that made sense to me, there's got to be something wrong. Yeah, it's all that self-deprecation. And each time gold has topped, just as the business cycle enters expansion, literally within a week. From there, Bitcoin takes its turn. It has run for 420 to 470 days. It's extremely accurate and highly logical. But for some reason, everyone will keep fading this and accepting a time-based 4-year cycle view instead of fundamental macro. And I got to tell you, fundamental macro, or at least the macro view, which I know Yellow is not such a fan of the macro stuff, but maybe he is secretly. when you zoom out, you end up paying less attention to noise. And to me, this does seem like a perspective that's slightly zoomed out. Damn right, it's a trap. Such a trap. Akbar. I don't know why. I don't get it, but it's okay. I don't get a lot of things. Okay, and there you go, guys. He just put out a nice chart showing us, right, the individual, the PMI, right, the business cycle, gold chart, and Bitcoin. And we can clearly see, based on these movements, that we're most likely into the business cycle expansion. You have to whisper it to make it really effective. Okay? That's how this works. If I didn't whisper that part, you'd be like, nah, this isn't real. Gotta whisper. All right, here we go. BitcoinTreasuries.net. Let's do it. Reported this. I mean, a whole bunch of different outlets reported this. I'm not surprised. I am really, really not surprised. Tether just announced they acquired SoftBank's entire $780 million stake in Jack Mallers' Bitcoin treasury company 21. Womp, womp. Everything is Tether. Everything is Tether. All right, let's dive into it. Tether CEO Paulo Ardoino, however you want to pronounce it, said SoftBank helped give 21 early credibility, perspective, and discipline while positioning the company to move forward with a stronger foundation and clearer mandate. Bitcoin treasury vehicles are still attracting public market attention, but the bar is moving higher. Listen to this, guys, okay? Because all the people, I've constantly complained that Bitcoin treasury companies need to have viable businesses, right? And I've gotten so much pushback, right? I'm an idiot. I just don't understand, right? Some of the smartest, biggest cheerleaders in the space, right? Think that fools like me are just totally wrong. And that's okay. That's totally fine. Investors are no longer looking at only how much Bitcoin a company holds. Oh my God, no way. No way. They are also weighing the premium attached to that exposure, the funding strategy behind it. Oh, wait, this is the worst part. And the path toward a broader operating business. Holy shit. Who would have thought that a business can't just hold Bitcoin? Who would have thought that you need revenue? Wow. That's crazy. Nuts. 21's next test is whether it can turn that Bitcoin native pitch into something more durable than listed exposure to the asset. So already this framing is partially incorrect because 21 already, Strike already merged into 21. Strike does have revenues. And what's going to be amazing is that once the merge is complete, we are going to start to get insight into Strike's actual numbers. As a private company, you're not really going to see that. At least not from somebody who's not a, one of the shareholders from the initial rounds, right? You're not, and even then, right? Even if you get that information, none of it is really audited per se. And even if it is, it's just trust me, bro, auditing. So this is going to be really interesting. And again, I'm not saying that this is great because it's ultra bullish for XSI and I'm buying shares and none of that crap. I just want to get introspection into the information, plain and simple, full stop. I just want to know the information. That's it. Anyways. Let's see. Tether's largest role gives the company a more committed backer, but it also puts more pressure on execution as the Bitcoin treasury category becomes more crowded. What's the funding strategy if you have no income from the business? Okay, so the funding strategy as of right now, as you know, we've watched MicroStrategy do it, and we've watched some other companies do it, right? What ends up happening is that they sell shares, right? That's what they do. They dilute their shareholders. But unfortunately, with the Bitcoin price being the way it is, it's really difficult to get people to buy into your story of the 30% CAGR and everything like that. So far, that's what it's been. I can't think of anything else, right? Can you? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just share dilution. Oh yeah, and bonds, right? And there is I forget who it is. Who was it? I think Metaplanet is doing something slightly different where they are not at this point they have diluted their shareholders in the past, but they're doing something a little bit different now where they are not diluting shareholders. I got to go back and take a look at that. But yeah. Unfortunately, it's just all it is just share dilution. Speaking of share dilution, oh, you know what? We should pull up this chart. Hold on. Take a look at this. Ooh. Brutal. Oh, they are not joking. The reverse split is tomorrow. Damn. All right. So David Bailey's Bitcoin Treasury Company, NAKA, just announced a 1-for-40 reverse split to meet NASDAQ minimum bid price requirement for continued listing. I don't want to touch that thing. There you go. This is this thing on the week. They've already, the share split's already there, except that it hasn't actually been. Okay, yeah. So that's a great question, ACP. Yes, let's talk about that, right? Because my framing often, if you pay enough attention, you'll think, well, reverse share splits are always bad per fill. But yeah, no, that's not the case, right? Great question. Are reverse splits necessarily bad? Okay, they are not. They are not in the case of when you have a business where the management has dedicated to either reviving the business, right, or growing the business, and they're executing on a plan, right? Now, of course, that may succeed, it may fail. But oftentimes, right, when a company does a reverse share split, because I've seen it also not just, I haven't seen it just in the case of trying to keep the exchange requirement, although that is usually the reason for doing a reverse split, is to keep the requirement. But sometimes, like I saw this with Lucent Technologies. I'm old, so most people probably don't remember Lucent or don't know Lucent, but back in the .com bubble, Lucent, Nortel Networks, all of these businesses, they were high flyers. You're paying $120 a share for Lucent. Anyways, long story short, back then, Lucent had split their shares so many times, right? So they got to the point where they had like something like over 3.5 billion shares. Now, keep in mind, right? This is over 20 years ago. Today, 3.5 billion shares, nobody cares. Okay. But back then, you had that many shares. You kind of wanted to consolidate those, right? Like essentially what would happen is that your share price would just kind of, at least in Lucent's case, because they weren't making very much money and there wasn't very much demand, right? Their share price was always stagnant. It was like between like $1 and $4, for like, I don't remember how many years. And so what they did was at some point, right, management decided, hey, we're going to do a reverse share split. And that's exactly what they did. And then all of a sudden, Lucent was trading at like $20 a share. But their financials were just the same. Again, it really is, for all intents and purposes, it's shenanigans, right? Because think about it, and I've seen this happen before. A company does a reverse share split, right? Then let's say they are able to turn the business around, right? They turn the business around. Okay, a good example of this would be Taser, okay, which is now Axon, right? Those Taser things. So look, back in the day, Taser had a CEO. He was terrible, okay, in terms of like just being very arrogant and just not caring, right? Like just not caring about shareholder stuff. Anyways, the long story short is that their stock got destroyed and they ended up doing a reverse split. Now, if you take a look at Axon today, right, which was Taser, now it's Axon Technologies, you take a look at that share and you're like, oh, it's like $400 or $500 per share, maybe even $800 per share, something like that. They only have like, I don't know, 55 million shares out. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember these numbers exactly. But the point is that they don't have a lot of shares now, right? And it's at this high valuation. They did indeed turn the story around. right? But then what ends up happening? Well, then they're going to do a share split, most likely, right? Because now they're going to reward their shareholders. And another thing that businesses do, right, is they also do share buybacks. And all of this essentially is a way of manipulating the share price, right? Either to the upside or the downside. But as well, it's also a way of manipulating perception. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Axon is massive today. That's right. All the police body cams are Axon. That is right. And you know what? Back in the early 2000 or mid 2000s, maybe 2008, I don't remember. Anyways, that CEO, if you paid attention to him, you were like, this is a horrible, horrible company that's going to zero. That's not what happened at all. That guy left. They brought in somebody way more competent, somebody that knew how to get the job done. So anyways, yeah, reverse share split. I mean, look, in this particular case, when it comes to NAKA, I don't think this is a good thing. He's just simply kicking the can down the road, which is, in all fairness, what most businesses do when they don't have real revenues to cover expenses, right? You got to kick the can down the road. And I'm sure, right, probably hoping for the next bull run, which is totally fine, right? Hey, he's entitled to do that. But to me, this is just shenanigans. Plain and simple. Shenanigans. All right, let's dive into the Prime Trust stuff, guys. The lawsuit alleges, right, because Prime Trust is now suing Strike. And interestingly enough, you'll see the reasons are very similar to Swan. The lawsuit alleges Strike saw the collapse coming early, rapidly moved customer assets off Prime, and received preferential treatment before the bankruptcy. Imagine being penalized for doing the right thing for your customers. This is what's happening. And again, the reason this is happening is because Prime Trust was a piece of shit run, sorry to say this, by losers. Okay? It was run by losers. And so these losers now are trying to claw back whatever they can from other people who unfortunately chose to do business with them. According to the complaint, Strike withdrew nearly 29.5 million and 1,939 Bitcoin during Prime's final weeks, including a 1,350 BTC transfer on June 2nd, 2023. Prime's estate claims Strike insiders knew about mounting regulatory pressure, insolvency risks, and operational problems before the public did. Guess what? I would expect that Strike's management took the decision to move their customer funds off of this hot, steaming pile of garbage platform. The filing cites Strike's own claim submission, where the company admitted it took steps to protect its own and its customers' interests by moving funds to external accounts away from Prime. The estate is now attempting to claw back at least 13.9 million and 1,758 Bitcoin in alleged preferential transfers. Oh, yeah. Scott Purcell. What a winner. Whole bunch of winning there, huh? Yeah, this is exactly what they're doing, Phil. They're suing them because they were actually smart enough to can you imagine? Can you imagine being forced to die on the sinking ship? Who's going to do that? No lifeboat for me. This is where it's going to get interesting, Mike. It may. Court filings in the Prime Trust bankruptcy reveal the company rarely held enough Bitcoin. This is where it gets creepy. Okay. To cover customer deposits on a one-to-one basis. A chart from the proceedings show Prime Trust on-chain Bitcoin balance was short of its internal ledger by as much as 1,400 Bitcoin at various points, meaning customer Bitcoin simply wasn't there. Now, the bankruptcy estate is making a legal argument that Prime Trust did not. This is the crazy part, guys. This is where this weird loophole might actually screw people, okay? Customers. The bankruptcy estate is making a legal argument that Prime Trust did not have a trust relationship with its customers, despite the company's own custodial agreement stating that account holder owns all custodial property held by Prime Trust, and that customer assets would be segregated on Prime Trust books and records, which was not true. They were not segregated. They were commingled immediately. Okay, this was just stuff to make, this was just feel good nonsense. The fine print also allowed Prime, and this is, here we go, also allowed Prime to take and hold title to custodial property in its own name, a clause that is now being used to treat the customer assets as part of the general bankruptcy estate available to all creditors. So if this particular, if this sticks, Swan and Strike might be, well, I don't think Strike is in a bad way, because Strike actually, I think, has revenue, or at least more revenue. But Swan, unfortunately, has taken several hits. So I don't know. It's a tough one here, guys. Anyway, so here, check this out. All right, this is the chart that was shared, along with the original post. Differences were below zero. Check this out. Prime maintained fewer Bitcoin in Prime-controlled wallets than it recorded on the internal ledger. Right, and just to give you guys an idea, the zero is up here. Okay, and if you draw a straight line on the zero, it just shows you immediately that the majority of the time, Prime Trust did not have your Bitcoin. And again, this unfortunately becomes a very sad story of, I know that hodling and hodlers are boring, right? And I know that it's not as fun, but guess what? Your boring Bitcoin in cold storage isn't going to have to deal with this bullshit. You just don't need this. This is garbage. Exactly, Mr. Dinkles. They were basically saying we thought Strike was one of us. They also thought Swan was one of them. So it's funny, right? It's interesting. See, it kind of goes back to the point that I make a lot. They want you on their team, but they are not on yours. And this is exactly what happened, right? Prime Trust thought these guys were on their team. But look, when push came to shove, now these lawsuits are out. What did we learn? They are not on yours, right? But they want you on their team. And this is the case for the majority, sadly, of the companies in the Bitcoin space. That's okay. It's what it is. It's the nature of the beast, guys. I am not sitting here saying, oh, woe is me and I'm a victim. I don't think I'm a victim or anything like that. I understand the playing field. I understand the rules. I'm just saying this is what it is. All right, some fun stuff. Let's do it. BitCoffee, a new Bitcoin-themed cafe. I swore I had a video for this. Come on. Give me a second. Huh. Well, that's weird. Let me put it in a different folder. Ah, yeah, I did. That's the problem. Here you go, guys. Oof, can't play that. Beautiful, right? Beautiful, guys. Sorry, I said Italy. It's Vietnam. I appreciate that. I totally screwed that up. Yesterday was the Italian coffee shop. Today is Vietnam. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, Mr. Dinkles, I really appreciate this. It's channels like yours and these very conversations that save the pleb lives. I do believe so, and the reason I believe so is because these were the types of conversations that I ended up hearing that other Bitcoiners were having that ended up saving me from getting wrecked. So yeah, it's like, it's not so fun, right? And of course, when you're taking money from those kinds of businesses to make Bitcoin content, you can't necessarily have those kinds of conversations. And if you do, they're most likely going to be a little bit disingenuous because you're not really incentivized to tell the truth. So anyways, yeah, I appreciate that. Anyways, guys, I do apologize. It was Vietnam, okay? And it is Da Nang, which is supposedly becoming a huge hub specifically for Bitcoin. Now, interestingly enough, I did some digging into this story, and there's really not much about BitCoffee, so it really is brand new. But a lot of the focus is going around this crypto coffee place or this crypto cafe where they just, they accept all the stable coins and stuff like that. So this is not that. Okay. So if you're doing research or something like that and you're like, I can't find anything, it's because BitCoffee is still being made, like brand new. Anyways, you know the deal, guys. You know the deal. Every single day, please consider signing the petition to free Samurai. Let's get Bill and Keone back to their families, back to their lives, right? When the state steals your time, that to me is one of the worst thefts possible. None of us can get it back. Time truly is the most precious thing. And if you feel so inclined, please consider donating to these guys, okay? Please consider it. Yep, I agree, Mr. Dinkles. Got to think through this crap together. 100%. 100%. Anyways, look, I'm going to be, obviously I'm following this Prime Trust story and we're going to see where this, where this continues to go. I don't think this is going to die very quickly, metaphorically, right? Metaphorically die very quickly. I think that this is going to be a lot of back and forth. There is a lot of Bitcoin on the line. There is a lot of money on the line. And in all fairness, Prime Trust is just a giant dumpster fire, right? And they're going to pull on any strings they can. Yeah, Mike, agreed. Bitcoiners need to up their game. That is way too few signatures. I was shocked too, man. And actually, it's interesting that you say that. Hey, awesome. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate that. Yeah, me too. It's good. It's important, right? But going back, Mike, to your comment here, that like 3 months ago or 4 months ago, when I started talking about, this, the signatures were at like 15K. And now here we are, like 3-4 months later, it's 16. Are you kidding me? So we get all these thousands of other people, like falling over themselves for like some Saifedean, I don't know, some book shit or something like that, or, to donate to who knows whatever cause. And this is actually real, right? These are guys that are in jail for writing privacy preserving code for collaborative spends. They did nothing illegal. All they simply did was prove that you can have a sly roundabout way around the financial system and to maintain your privacy. The state does not like that. The government does not like that. None of the 3-letter agencies like that. It stands in glaring contrast to their power. You need to understand that. Why do you think Ross was allowed to leave? Why do you think Ross got pardoned? That was an easy one. They don't care about drugs. They just want to make an example out of you with drugs. But with this is money. This is the source of every single state's power. Full stop. This does matter. Anyways, consider signing the petition, and have a great rest of the day. And as you guys know, I'm back tomorrow. I don't think there's an interview tomorrow, but there will be an interview next week. One of the organizers for the Midwest Bitcoin Conference is going to be joining us, and quite possibly Pleb Underground will be at the Midwest Bitcoin Conference doing our shtick. We'll see. Anyways, guys, have a great evening. I will catch you all tomorrow. Torup. Yes, I almost hung up, but then I saw your comment. Privacy, drugs, it is close. You are correct. Indeed, it is. However, the government cares more about the money because the money is the true source of their control. So that's where I'm going to draw the line. But anyways, we can continue the discussion tomorrow or whatever. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. And of course, I always appreciate your comments. I appreciate you guys joining me every single day. You have no idea how humbled I am and how grateful I am to get to spend the time with you doing this. Have a great one. Take it easy.